Is joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Swapnil. Thank you so much for speaking with us. How do you see this investigation against Sameer Wankhede?
Well, if there are corruption charges, I would want to see what sort of charges there are, what sections, and, if this is a corruption as a public servant, then obviously, the Prevention of Corruption Act and possibly if there is some sort of a money laundering also, then the PMLA Act will come into the picture. But I'm not so sure because I do not know the sections and what prompted the CBI to raid this man. So I would want to know before I would make a comment one way or the other, because normally the investigating agencies don't go ahead and raid someone unless they have some legitimate reason to do so.
Yeah, and it's an officer of he was an officer of the central government and he was working at the NCB and IRS officer. High profile cases that he was dealing with, and if he's been taken. He's under the radar of the CBI. It raises a lot of questions. Mr. Majeed Memon, who's a senior advocate, is also joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Mr. Memon. Thank you so much for speaking with us. It doesn't happen very often that, a senior officer who was at the helm of affairs, one of the key officers within the NCB, was looking after high-profile cases, is now investigated and being raided by the CBI. How do you see these developments, sir?
This Sameer Wankhede was a name very much striking the headlines of the newspapers sometime back when NCB raided and booked Aryan Khan, the son of the celebrity Shah Rukh Khan. And there was a lot of noise among people, as also there was criticism from the courts and from other quarters because nothing was found on him. And as a matter of fact, at one stage, the court said that there was no need to arrest him at all. And they not only arrested him, but opposed his bail, which had brought a lot of disrepute and embarrassment to the entire NCB. At that time, he escaped any drastic action against him or any of his colleagues. But now, CBI seems to have registered some case relating to some corruption. So that only suggests that, this may not have anything to directly connect with the Aryan case, but at the same time, this only suggests that he is not a man with clean hands. It seems that there are certain skeletons in his cupboards also, which CBI is now going to expose.
So I want to understand from you, when there's a charge of extortion, what can be the primary evidence against an officer? Because there could be a lot of people who make that allegation just because they have an axe to grind with him. So when an agency takes cognizance of such a case, they must have a solid reason to move forward.
No, I'm sure CBI must have laid hand upon some authentic material, some evidence against him, which would justify booking him for a crime. Because extortion is not alone in cases like this. It is a case of extortion plus Prevention of Corruption Act, because you are a government official. And if you seek to extort money from the people, then certainly you are all out for multiple allegations against you. And we'll have to just wait and obtain the details of what CBI case is. But I'm sure that this only suggests that the criticism that he met at the time of Aryan Khan's arrest is fully justified.
Yes, fully justified is what you feel. Let me check if Swapnil is still with us on the broadcast. Swapnil, I want to talk about the same point with you. What kind of evidence or what kind of material Central Bureau of Investigation or any premier agency needs to proceed for an investigation of this nature?
I believe, you need to have documents, you need to have some sort of a tip-off, and more than a tip-off, I think you would need to have really some sort of physical evidence from a gentleman or a phone tap or anything of that sort where, this person is seen to have asked for some money in return for some favors or anything of that. So only on that basis, the CBI would sort of proceed with this kind of a thing, and that too against a central government officer. So one officer against the other officer is not really something which we see day in, day out. I mean, this is something rare, but nevertheless, if the CBI has done something, then I'm sure it has got some footing, because otherwise when it goes to court, taking this gentleman for some custody or anything of that sort, then, they're going to face some flack if they don't have anything. And maybe initially they will get custody, but thereafter they'll have to justify further remand and all of those things, in which case then CBI could get into some sort of a soup if they don't have something concrete. And if it is just on the basis of some, flying information or anything of that sort, then
But do you believe a professional agency like CBI would proceed on flying information? And like I was saying to Mr. Memon as well, that for an officer, especially working at NCB, there could be a lot of people who might just not have great intentions, might make a complaint, may not have any evidence to back their claims. But if CBI goes ahead, makes multiple raids and is now registered a case against him, they must have prima facie some material, testimony, eyewitnesses, some financial trail to begin the investigation. I mean, let alone prove it. Swapnil.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. It cannot be flying. I mean, I just thought that, initially sometimes it so happens that you could be over enthusiastic, but I believe some professional agency like Central Bureau of Investigation,
we can only hope,
would not, jump to, the conclusion. You see, the reason why I'm using this contrarian argument, Anusha, is because this was the same argument that was used when he was raiding some people.
Yeah.
That, you have been enthusiastic and you've been zealous about this kind of a thing. You've been pursuing certain cases zealously and, with some sort of a gay abandon. And, normally some other officer in your place would not have done what you were doing. So I'm, using the same content. I'm not defending him. I'm just trying to put up a contrarian view.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would want to know what the charges are and on what basis before I really, all I can say is that CBI, being a professional agency, prima facie must be having something on the basis of which it has decided to raid, and not only raid but also book him.
Mr. Memon, for extortion cases of this nature or top officers from the IRS cadre who has served in NCB to be booked by the CBI in the way it has happened with Sameer Wankhede, do we see these cases often, or this is one of instance that we have seen? Because in some way, Mr. Memon also raises directly questions on the credibility of the work that he did while he was in NCB. We'll try and connect with Mr. Majeed Memon. I believe Mr. Swapnil Kothari continues to be with us on the broadcast. Swapnil, coming back to you and taking that point with you, it does raise a lot of questions about the cases that he has handled as an officer while he was at NCB. We continue tracking that story, and that is the big story coming in right now. Sameer Wankhede, the officer who was earlier at the helm of affairs in the Narcotics Control Bureau, has been booked by the Central Bureau of Investigation in a corruption case. These are extortion charges which are being investigated against him. We'll continue getting you all the details.